Welcome to Not in a Huff with Jackson Huff, where we interview newsmakers, storytellers, and all-around interesting people. Sit back, relax, unless you're driving, and enjoy the show. Here's Jackson.
Hello. I am Jackson Huff. This is Not in a Huff. Thanks for joining me this week. Really appreciate it. As always, have a great guest for you. Teach you just a little bit about something that I guess we just don't know always a ton about. You know, when it comes to TV, I've talked about, some of my guilty pleasures in reality TV. This time, I think this is kind of in a different vein, but I also really enjoy watching House Hunters. So I've always thought, how exactly does House Hunters work? How does someone get on House Hunters and start looking at houses and buy a house and all of that? What's the process of going from looking for a house, which currently in today's market is wild, but looking for a house on TV? That's adding to the craziness of an already stressful situation. So, is it really just a completely organic thing? Is it a made-for-TV thing? How does it work? So, my quest was to find somebody on one of the House Hunters shows that could talk a little bit about that. I actually started speaking with Alana Davenport. She was on House Hunters International. Her and her fiancé at the time, husband now, were looking for a place in Vietnam. So how does a couple, one from the U.S., one from the United Kingdom, get on an American show, House Hunters, looking for a house in Vietnam? That's every story's a little different, whether it's Vietnam or Peru or Poland and all these other areas. But I just wondered how exactly that process worked and how real this reality show was. For those who are big House Hunter fans, I don't think you're going to be too upset. There is quite a bit of reality to it. But there is some made-for-TV things. They play a little hard and fast with some of the facts and exactly how the process works. If it's any big reveal, and we'll talk about it quite a bit. They actually already had the apartment that they supposedly fell in love with and moved into. They had already been living in it. We're going to talk about that. But yeah, it was an interesting conversation to see how one of everyone's favorite reality shows, how it actually all happens. Without further ado, here is my interview with Alana Davenport. We'll talk a lot more about House Hunters and kind of the behind the scenes of it all. Here's Alana. I am here today with Alana Davenport. Alana, how are you?
I'm great. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well too. So thanks so much for joining me. I really appreciate it.
Of course. Yeah, I'm excited.
I asked you to come on because I want to talk about your time on House Hunters. I think that's a show that a lot of people, I guess it's kind of a guilty pleasure. I know it is for me. Sometimes I fall asleep watching House Hunters on Hulu, and I think that a lot of people do enjoy it. But I just want to kind of hear just a little bit behind the scenes of it all. Before that, tell us just a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, I'm as well a House Hunters fan. I have been for quite a while. So I was born and raised in Portland, Oregon. Didn't do much traveling as a kid really at all. When I was 21, I went out of the country for the first time to London for study abroad. And oh my gosh, it's clicked so many things with this. My first time I stepped off a plane, I knew that's what I wanted to do. I've been watching House Hunters for years before that too. And I've always thought it was an unattainable goal. But, after I set my mind to it, after traveling for the first time, I actually found it fell into place quite easily. If you put your mind to something, you can really make it work. So I traveled for about 4 or 5 years. I recently came back to Portland. I guess recently isn't almost 2 years ago, but with the last year being COVID, feels like recently.
Yeah, and in the episode, they give a very quick blurb of everybody, but it said that you had a travel blog and something you were super passionate about. Was that the case? Were you doing a blog back then?
Yes, actually, they do take some liberties with some things, as I'm sure we'll talk about. But yes, I did have a blog. 50 North 14 East was my travel blog. It was mainly just for fun. And I was more into like the kind of just sharing, just bits about traveling and meeting the community. Some bloggers are so good at doing these huge in-depth guides and everything. And I enjoyed doing that every once in a while, but really for me, it was just about kind of sharing the unique parts of living in Vietnam at the time and, meeting the travel community.
Right. Yeah. And we definitely are going to talk a little bit about some of the liberties that the show takes, because I've heard some of them, but I mean, I'm sure you've seen some of, I guess, the joke memes and stuff where, they've always got like such and such is a pencil sharpener and the other one is a part-time substitute teacher. Our budget is $5.3 million. So
Exactly.
you never exactly know what's happening. So, so I'm going to ask you, I guess, questions based off of what your episode said,
Mhm.
so we can see whether some of it's accurate or not. But
Mhm.
it says you moved to Vietnam from Prague. First of all, is that accurate?
Part of it is accurate.
Okay.
So this is actually, I guess, kind of a funny story. So I moved to Prague in 2014, and I met my partner, who we also met on the show there. We moved to Vietnam together in 2016, and I actually applied to be on the show then. The house, so back then I thought like they were going to help me find my house, and they emailed me back and said, oh, you need to like have the house there secured and then like get this contract signed. I'm like, oh, okay, kind of bummer, but I still wanted to go ahead with it. We'd been living in a house by like 5 months by the time they got back to me with the release form. And at that point, the house was going to be sold in like 30 days. We're like, excuse me, like we're living in this house. What are we supposed to do? So it didn't actually work out that time. So that was in 2016. We then left Vietnam and then traveled around for about 2 more years and then came back to Vietnam. So technically, yes, we did move from Prague to Vietnam, but about 2 years of our life were taken out.
Yeah, and I just quick 10-minute before this, I guess kind of some Instagram sleuthing. I actually went on your husband, fiance, whatever he is, his Instagram, which isn't updated very often, but
No.
he did show a house that you guys lived in Vietnam in 2016, and your episode was in 2019. So I thought
Yes.
there must be something here, but I'm sure we'll talk about that. Yeah. So yeah, tell us just a little bit about how you met Sam.
Yeah. So we both worked at the same English language center over in Prague. I moved over to Prague, let's see, probably like September 2014. And I met him like late October. I did not want to meet somebody over in Prague. I wanted a year of being completely on my own, honestly. But of course, that's how it always works out. And yeah, things it really easily aligned up, but we both wanted to travel. We both, we both really wanted to go to Asia. It was his idea originally to move to Vietnam. So that was also brought up in the episode, and that's true. I had hardly seen Europe, and he'd seen more of Europe, being that he's English. So we kind of we decided, to go to Vietnam, somewhere really far away and new to both of us.
The thing that's always funny about those shows is because they want to try to add in a little bit of personality, but they want to do it so quickly. Some of the things they say is just like, dang, that sounds a little weird. Like in yours, they said that it wasn't love at first sight because he was too young for her. I was like, dang, that seems a little strange, but was that really the case?
Well, it's funny, but he's like a month younger than me, but he's got like a really young face. And when I first met him, I was 23, so I don't know what I was concerned about. Like I knew he must have at least been in his 20s, but I was like, oh, he's too young for me. So they did kind of run with that. I've totally forgot that was in the episode, but yes, I did think potentially he was, but then I found out he was my age, so no issues there.
That's funny. So you kind of mentioned it just a little bit, but how is the whole process of getting on the show?
So I applied, like I said, online. I found an application for, House Hunters International when we decided we were going to move to Vietnam. And so again, I thought they were going to like help us find the house. I was a bit naive, and I was excited to get like someone's help because I didn't know how to even begin finding a house in Vietnam. So when I applied, then they got back to me pretty quickly and said like, oh, do you have a house secured and everything? I said no. And they said, get back to us when you do. We found that house we lived in Vietnam in 2016 pretty quickly, but just the kind of like getting acclimated and everything there, I didn't get back to them for a while, and they didn't get back to me for a while. So we missed out on the first time we were in Vietnam. We then, I reached out to that person again in like 2018 when we had moved back to Vietnam, and then they reached back out to me, and yeah, the ball just went rolling from there.
Yeah. And you had already kind of secured your house and then got on the show?
Yeah, so we had the house we lived in beforehand. We had that secured, and then we did we got that apartment as well before we were on the show.
Yeah. So what I guess what's kind of the process? You just have to email them, or did you have to like audition or anything? I've seen on YouTube like people's audition tapes. Is that a real thing, or are they just doing some strange stuff?
No, yeah, we had an email conversation and then just like a quick YouTube thing. I think that was probably what pretty much everyone does. Um, they they put like advertisements for it on Instagram, I think sometimes too. Like, do you like to travel? Do you want to like be on this travel show? So then I think there's like some different ways people find it. I just found it through their website.
I got you. I got you. So how does the filming happen? You already have a place secured. So do you have to then also find the I guess the fake places too, or do they give you some places to go that's not real, or how does that happen?
Oh no, they gave us they find everything. So there's different different houses that they would show us, and they were available, so we could I suppose we could have moved into them if we wanted to.
So and did you already live in your house, or was it just secured?
Yeah, we lived in ours.
So I guess it wasn't, the houses there weren't completely empty, but what about, I just wonder about the ones that are completely empty. Do they have to move all their furniture out for the show?
I'm not sure actually. They It's possible. We had just like our apartment came furnished, which is pretty standard in Vietnam, so we didn't really have to worry about that. But the ones in America where they're big houses, they might have to move the furniture out. I'm not quite sure.
Yeah. Yeah. And I know you're kind of talking about you doing it, but was it your ideal originally to get on the show, or was it Sam's, or was it just kind of a mutual decision, or how'd that happen?
Yeah, I think it was probably mine. I had been watching House Hunters for years and years and years, and I thought it'd be so fun. All my family watches it and everything. And then I can't remember if Sam had seen one. Maybe we'd talked about it, but yeah, I'm sure it was my idea.
I just remember that. So the thing that just, I think is going to blow some people's minds that watch House Hunters, because your episode definitely said, I mean, it played up that you were moving to Vietnam sight unseen. You had never been to Vietnam before, and they're just making you move there. And then come to find out there's your second time living in Vietnam. That's funny.
Yeah, I think I guess the reason probably why they can't do all that is just because in half an hour it'd be hard to explain. Like, she was living there, then she left, then she came back. But yeah, so it's just kind of funny. It's kind of like the condensed story.
Yeah. And do they tell you why they're doing it? Hey, we're going to kind of play with the story, or do you just get surprised when it comes out and be like, that is not exactly how any of that is?
No, I wouldn't say surprised. The filming crew is so cool, and the producers are really cool. So it was kind of just like they asked. I guess it would kind of be like the 2016 view of us moving there. Like, that was the accurate. Like, we had come from Prague to Vietnam, so it was kind of just like putting ourselves in the eyes of seeing it like fresh with new eyes.
So the filming, how does that take place? How long did it take to actually film everything? They kind of make it look like it's in one day. I don't know whether that's necessarily the case, but how does the filming take place?
It's over a course of like 5 days. And I'm trying to think. Yeah, so I think saw one place every day, and then there was just kind of like the filming around Vietnam and everything. So yeah, 4 or 5 days, I believe. So it's pretty quick. The days are kind of long. They have to take quite a few different takes of things, especially in Vietnam, because there's so much background noise, like with the motorbikes and everything. So it's kind of funny. I'm trying to get a moment where the sound crew can really hear us over the motorbikes or the construction or whatever's happening. So I bet that's a big challenge on a lot of the big city episodes.
Right, right. That was another question I had. Just how much, do you have to redo everything? How many times are you walking into a room surprised by the way it looks? I'm sure that there's quite a bit of that.
Actually, probably not as much as you think. There was definitely some, but it was more like if we, sometimes we'd go in and I'd be like, just like totally awkward, like forget how to act. And so like they'd be like, okay, let's do that again. Or if like a motorbike drove by and was super loud or, things like that. It wasn't so much like, I guess trying to prompt the right reaction out of us. If it was just like, if I was being really weird and like forgot how to do something, they would let me and give me another chance, luckily.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I would think, just because there's so many different people that come on that show. I know not everyone is just naturals behind a camera, but they make everyone look that way. So I feel like there's got to be a lot of takes of people just be like, oh, never mind, let me start that over. So
Yeah, because sometimes
I
I'd walk in and I'd be like, wait, what am I doing?
yeah,
Or like,
yeah.
so there's like all these things you don't think about, like talking over each other and stuff. So if me and Sam would be, because we'd share like our honest opinions of the house, but if we were talking over each other, then you have to refilm that.
So you said that they wanted your honest opinions, which is good. So sometimes when I've talked to other people on reality shows, they don't necessarily like script things, but they do try to play up drama. I don't know whether that's the case with House Hunters. I'll tell you, almost every House Hunters couple I've ever seen, there's some kind of friction on exactly what they want in their house. Your guys' one was
Mm-hmm.
differences in price and difference in size of the house. I can't. I mean, maybe your guys' is completely accurate, but I can't imagine that every single couple always disagrees on the type of house they want. So do they play that up or?
Yeah, I mean, I think they asked kind of what it's good at how they do it. So they said like, Sam, what did you want in a house? Lana, what did you want in a house? And there were some discrepancies, of course, because I don't know, maybe some couples want everything exactly the same, but certainly we're not always that way. So coming back to Vietnam, I really wanted a like 3 to 4 bedroom house. And I know that sounds crazy, but we had a bunch of visitors lined up and I wanted that. We both worked from home, so I wanted an office. And then I thought maybe, we could do some like an at-home like yoga like studio or something, because I had got my yoga teacher certificate that year. So I thought it'd be kind of nice to have a little studio. So I was like, I really want 4 bedrooms. And so I think they went with that because it's interesting that I wanted that. And we ended up where we were. Looking back, I think it was a bit crazy. I wanted 4 bedrooms. So I'm glad it didn't work out that way. But so they kind of just find out like what would be the difference between a couple. Because I know some like Hunters episodes I've watched, the difference is so weird. So maybe those ones, like they had to play them up. Because I remember one I was watching, the woman's like, I hate birds. I don't want any trees near the house because I hate birds. I'm like, what? That can't be like, she must have just randomly said that. And they're like, yes.
Yeah. Well, the one part that I know that you guys are accurate, or at least I think so, given, again, looking at you guys' Instagram, is you really are passionate and wanted a dog. And I believe you got one, right?
Yes. Yeah, we got a dog. We were so excited about that. Again, it's kind of crazy looking back. Why did I want a dog when I was living in Vietnam? But yeah, he's turning 3 this week. We got him 3 years ago to this week. He's our kid.
That's exciting. That's exciting. So can you talk about watching House Hunters and being a fan of it in the past? Can you still watch House Hunters, being on it, and I guess kind of still see it as, a real thing, or do you kind of see the scriptedness behind it and the story that they create?
It's so funny because we still do watch it sometimes. And at first I was like, I can't, I'm going to feel so awkward because like I felt kind of awkward watching our show, but I still am like, why didn't they choose that house? I'm like, wait, Alana, like calm down. So I don't know. I think that I still really enjoy it. And you kind of get like a sense of sympathy for some people because I don't know if you ever like look at some people's episodes on the YouTube comments, people are like, what is wrong with them and everything? And they're humans and they, it is just TV at the end of the day.
Right, right. And the one that you chose, I can't even remember. And I'll be honest, to make sure that I had the right questions, I watched it like 2 hours ago and I've already forgotten. You chose like the smallest, the small one, right?
Yeah, we chose a 2 bedroom apartment.
Mm-hmm. And if I remember right, I guess you're just good at playing it up. If you already that was already your place, because you were talking about how much you disliked it and it had no soul and all this stuff. So what made you decide to be that forceful against the house that you knew was already yours?
I actually kind of like I did feel that way about that apartment, and that's I guess it's a little bit unfair, but it was like so narrow. I think I do it in the show. If I spread my arms wide and like stood there, I couldn't quite touch wall to wall, but almost. So the apartment itself, I guess, wasn't like the main draw of it. The front room, like our bedroom, it had a gorgeous view of the Dragon Bridge, and like the street in front of us was so lively, and we had little balcony. So the front room was really special, and we could see the river, and so it was a beautiful location. I really liked that, and it had the two bathrooms. It had the shower. Again, one of my things on the show was I couldn't stand a wet room, which is so true. Like I wanted a separate shower. So yeah, between like the location and like the beautiful view and everything, it just and the price of it, it was like a good choice for us. But I felt those feelings still, so it wasn't too hard to play it up.
Yeah. So how long did you live there when the episode happened?
6 months, I believe.
6 months. I gotcha. Gotcha. And you said that the other ones were still available. So when that show happened and you went to the other ones, were you regretting your decision that you lived where you lived, or did it kind of confirm that you liked where you were at?
It confirmed that I did not need such a big place. When we were looking at those ones, trying to think of cleaning those and everything. And in Vietnam, I'm like terrified of cockroaches. I think that they cut all these scenes, but like anytime there's a cockroach or anything, I am freaking out. And like the first place we lived in Vietnam, it was a two-story house, and we got lots of cockroaches on the ground floor. And I was thinking again, like, oh my gosh, we're on the 4th floor now. Like, we're not going to get that as many cockroaches. We still did. They can crawl through the drains, but I'm like so glad we didn't have a house that I'd have to deal with several, floors of cockroaches.
Yeah, yeah. So, and was the person that was there, the real estate agent, were they a real estate agent? Because that's one other thing I've heard before, that sometimes when they just come to a new place, they don't worry about finding a real estate agent. They just hire somebody to act as one.
I have heard that, and they asked us beforehand if we had a real estate agent we could recommend, and we said we didn't. We just kind of found our house, but she was a real estate agent, and she was it all. We actually hung out several times after the episode.
Well, that's cool. So
Yeah.
do they kind of prompt them too, or is it really them showing houses they have available?
I can't remember if these were ones that the property group was renting, but I think she'd seen them beforehand, so they must have been, because I wouldn't say, like, none of us are trained actors, and I don't think she had ever been on camera before, so I'm sure she had shown those houses before.
Yeah, I wonder what that would be like. Obviously, for the Americans that are on the show, they're used to house hunters. They've seen it before. They're the ones that applied. But when these real estate agents in all these faraway countries, never seeing house hunters before, just get asked to, hey, do you want to be on this American show where you're fake showing houses? I wonder what these people think. It's probably.
I know, yeah. I'm trying to think of how she was asked. I'm sure we talked about it at the time, but I don't remember. But yeah, she was great. I've seen a few in Da Nang since, and they've used the same, not the woman on our episode, but like the same woman multiple times. So they must have, like, now that it's getting a more popular city, I think they have the person they use there, and they'll use her for probably all the episodes.
Yeah. Yeah. So is there anything else about, House Hunters International that I guess would be surprising for people who just watch it?
It's a really small crew, and I don't know if that would, surprise people or not surprise people, but it's just 3 people, and they're really great. We have like so much fun. They were travel lovers too. They get to like go around the world. So it's really fun to do, and I would highly recommend if someone listening is moving abroad, apply. And it's you get 5 days of like getting taken out to lunch and getting driven around by like a camera crew, so it feels like a kind of once in a lifetime experience. They got us up to the Golden Hands Bridge in Da Nang. That's in like one of the last scenes of our episode. And that's, like such a, I don't know, really fun, iconic thing. People were like trying to figure out what the camera crew was about. They got someone who was like a drone professional, and he got these amazing shots and everything. So it's really fun to be on. So I think that, if someone was thinking about it, even if you don't think like you're going to be good in front of the camera, they have a way of making it feel really natural.
And that was it. I had a question about whether you would do it again if you had the chance, and it sounds like you absolutely would.
Oh, I totally would. I would love to have the exact same crew. I'd do it every time we moved if I had the chance. I thought it was so fun.
Yeah, well, that's
it is awkward seeing yourself on camera though. Like it's funny kind of, of course, any reality TV show, they can edit it any way they want. So you're like, oh, that's how I sound. Oh no.
Yeah. How many times have you seen the episode?
I think 1.5. I really didn't want to watch it again.
Really? Have you, I mean, there's only about 60 million episodes, so I don't know how often they replay them, but have you ever actually seen it when you weren't expecting to watch it?
No, we don't have cable or anything. So we watched it as it was so funny. When it came out, Sam's family was all over here in Portland for the wedding. It just happened to come out that weekend. And so we had like a big viewing party with his family, and it was like, we were cringing, but everyone was like laughing so hard. The scene where we choose the house is like, we're getting a massage. I'm like, why did we let that happen? Yeah. It's so awkward.
Yeah, that's funny. And it's kind of an awkward way that you guys chose it too. I feel like, because he's like, you trusted me to move here. You just have to trust me with the house. And then you're like, okay, this seems a little different, but
yeah, no, I'm sure in reality it was probably at a coffee shop, and I was just like, oh, I'm frustrated. Let's just move in. But
yeah. So I guess more just about Vietnam as a whole. So you moved there twice, so obviously you really enjoyed Vietnam. But tell us, I guess, some of your favorite things about living in Vietnam.
Yeah, I do really love it. We talk all the time about moving back, even still. I didn't have really any expectations when we went over the first time, but we got a job at an English language center. And that job turned out to be quite interesting. It was like, I don't know, it wasn't the best school. There's a lot of schools over there that are not necessarily, scams, but they don't treat the employees amazingly. But we met some really, really cool people through there, Vietnamese friends, local friends, and, expat friends. And just the lifestyle there it's easy to have, a good life on a much smaller salary than you'd need in Portland or the UK where Sam is from, or even Prague where we'd been before. And, you can go to the beach, and then you can just drive. We had a motorbike. It just feels very casual, much less casual than America, I guess. So, we'd just go out for like fun in the morning. We'd lounge by the beach, and we'd go to work, and we'd come back and like have a beer at night. So it's just a slower pace of life than here. There's kind of like a group for everyone. I feel like there's not necessarily like one type of person moves to Vietnam. There's really old people, there's baby boomers, there's really young people, there's backpackers, there's young families and everything. So it's really like interesting kind of melting pot of people, especially in Da Nang right now. When we first moved there in 2016, you can significantly feel how much the city has grown. So I'll be curious to see, I feel like it's going to be a powerhouse in Southeast Asia in the coming years.
And I don't know too much about Vietnam or, that particular city. And I could easily look at a map, but where in Vietnam is that? Because I have talked to a lot of travel people, and that have talked a lot about Vietnam and how it's a huge difference between, South Vietnam and North Vietnam, based on, I guess, kind of the war and their thoughts on Americans. Where is Da Nang?
Da Nang is right in the center. So the North and South are really different. Hanoi is in the north, and then Ho Chi Minh City is in the south. I love the north of Vietnam. That's probably my favorite part. We actually, I debated on moving to Hanoi a few times, but it's a much bigger city, and you don't have the beach and everything. A lot more like city pollution. But as far as Da Nang, I think that was like the kind of neutral zone in the war. My grandpa actually lived there for a while. So my dad came to visit. I'm like, wow, it's 3 generations of us have, been to Da Nang now.
That is cool. Yeah. And it just kind of goes to show that everyone has totally different experiences, because the person I was talking to didn't like the North because they said that there's kind of animosity towards Americans, and you didn't really feel that way.
Yeah, I heard a lot of people before I went saying, the North, everyone's cold. It's not, it's not a very friendly place. And I love the North. I would go back in a heartbeat. I guess maybe people weren't as openly friendly as maybe the South or in the Central, but I didn't really feel like that at all. Everyone we met was really lovely, and the food is amazing up there. And it's just a gorgeous, Hanoi's gorgeous architecture.
So what made you, I guess, give up the motorbikes and the flip-flop tans for Oregon again?
Oh, I ask myself that often. Sam and I got married in 2019. We really wanted to have a common, passport, green card situation because we'd had to move so often. And in Vietnam, you can leave the country, then come back in on a new visa. So that was easy enough. But we're like, how sustainable is this really? We've been doing it for like 4.5, 5 years now. So we were very in love, of course, when we got married. And we've been in Oregon ever since. We had plans to, go visit his family in the UK, but of course, coronavirus in the past year has stopped us from traveling completely. So we tentatively have some plans this summer of going to the UK. So fingers crossed for that. But yeah, Oregon's great. Again, just talking about Vietnam more and more, I'm thinking, why did I come back? But we're enjoying our life here. We've got a really lovely apartment. We did not get the help from house hunters finding it, but our dog loves it, and we're close to my family. So yeah, it's been nice, but we'll definitely be excited to travel again soon.
Yeah, and when you say travel, are you wanting to actually like go live somewhere else again?
I'd like to, yeah. We talk about, Vietnam again, but we do, for visa reasons, have to spend most of our time in the U.S. But there's so much, place to travel around the U.S., so we can do that too. And then, spend a couple weeks here and there in different places. Hopefully, definitely in the UK to visit Sam's family, and then, hopefully, we'd love to visit Prague again. We'd love to see more of Europe. South America's been on our to-do list forever. So, yeah, hopefully, once the immunity and whatever, we can get back out there.
So that was a few years ago that we're talking about. You moved back to Oregon. Tell us kind of what you've been up to since then.
So when I first got back, I was just teaching online still, and I found a job pretty soon after we got married as a interior designer for designing for like short-term rentals. So it was cool because, it was kind of dealing with travelers still and talking to people around the world. So I loved that. And more recently, I've been, just working as an interior designer. I do remote interior design, mainly based in America, but I'd be happy to, help people from around the world too. I started a company called Local Honey Creative House, and I've been mainly we're working with like Airbnb and short-term rental folks wanting to upgrade their house, appeal to like a broader range of travelers and everything. But I love to do, regular residential houses as well, shops, yoga stores and everything. So yeah, it's been fun. I've really, I guess, found more of my passion here as far as work. Teaching wasn't necessarily my passion, but travel was. But now we're here, and interior design's great. So maybe I can blend both in the short future.
Yeah, very good. What about Sam? What does he do?
He works for a online company. He works for, he still works within the education sector, but he works for like an education startup. He's a manager there. So he's also remote. So we do have the capability to, pick up and go wherever.
Yeah, no, that'll be exciting. So how can people find your interior design business, you as a whole, I guess if they just want to connect more?
Yeah. So my Instagram, I guess my Instagram, as people might be familiar with me on House Hunters, is 50 North, 14 East. That was the name of my travel blog. It was an ode to Prague. That's like the kind of the shortened version of the coordinates of Prague. So that's when I wanted to make a travel blog. I based it off of the first place I lived. And then my interior design business is called Local Honey Creative House. And that's on Instagram as well, website as well there. My travel blog, I've had a few people reach out from watching on House Hunters, seeing if they could find the travel blog. It is disbanded for now. Maybe once we can travel again, I'll get back on it. But like I said earlier, I'm not much of I don't love writing. I don't. So trying to, I really feel for, professional travel bloggers this year. They've had to somehow create content and make money still, but it's hard when you, you can't really travel.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. That makes sense. Yeah. Well, I mean, it's been a pleasure speaking with you. I do think that all these reality shows, obviously, in order to actually make something people want to watch, there's got to be a little bit more to it than what people hope. It's not all just organic, but I'd like to think that it's not as off as some of them are. So it was a kind of, yeah. So
yeah. I think that House Hunters does a good job of that because, like you were saying, they've got so many episodes. They've probably got it down to a science on how to make it, they can ask you questions, make you feel like natural. They bring out they can bring out the drama without making it actually dramatic by kind of, most couples, they don't agree with absolutely everything. So they might be like, Alana, what did you think about this? Or so, then I tell the honest truth. And so that can kind of create a bit of drama. Cause when you think about it, you don't want to watch two people being like, I hate this. I also hate this. I love this. I also love this. It's not good TV, is it?
Right. No, that makes sense for sure. Yeah. It's been a pleasure. Thanks so much.
Of course. Yeah. Thank you.
And that was my interview with Alana Davenport. Hope you enjoyed that one. I learned a lot. I've always really enjoyed House Hunters, whether it's, the domestic version or whether it's the international version. I do tend to kind of lean towards the international version. I like to see the house hunting experience and then also learn about a new city or a new country. That's kind of an added bonus. But I really enjoyed speaking with her. It didn't ruin House Hunters for me. I knew that there's got to be a little bit, there's got to be something to it to make it interesting every single episode. Just like she just mentioned, it's a tried and true formula. They've got thousands of episodes at this point, so it's got to it's got to follow a certain formula, and that sometimes means that they've got to get the story exactly how they want. They've got to make sure that they're showing houses they want. They've got to make sure that they've actually end it with someone in a home. The thing that you don't see is people say, you have these 3 houses, not anything I like. I'm just going to keep looking. That wouldn't work out too well. So what they do is make sure that the people already have secured a home, and then kind of go through the process and kind of, just like with them, this is something that they had moved there once before, and they kind of played out that process again. Same thing with, looking for a house. They kind of I guess, look at the process and try to reenact it. That's the word I was looking for. Try to reenact the house hunting process rather than the exact real one. But I really appreciate Alana's time. Do check her out on her social media, and then also on her interior design page. It was a pleasure speaking with her. Thanks so much for being here. I appreciate you as well. Check us out. Facebook, we have a podcast page. Instagram, we've got Not Enough Huff Podcast. That's the handle. Follow us there. Of course, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you listen. Make sure you're subscribed. Make sure you follow. Make sure you give a 5-star rating. That would be amazing. A comment, even more amazing. Appreciate you being here. Take it away, Chris.
This has been Not in a Huff with Jackson Huff. Thank you for listening. Be sure to join us next time, where we will interview another amazing guest who is sure to make you laugh or make you think. Or, hey, maybe even both. But until then, keep being awesome.